In every conversation where opinions clash, there lies a hidden opportunity, not merely to win, but to influence, connect, and grow. Understanding how not to lose an argument begins with mastering the deeper game that lies beyond mere words. It's about emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, and a firm yet flexible approach that lets you stay above the chaos of personal attacks, emotional reactions, and ego-driven confrontations. The first and most important principle is avoiding the temptation to attack the person in the heat of an argument. It can be tempting to respond to a personal jab with an even sharper one, to strike back where it hurts. But this instinct, while human, is counterproductive. Arguments are not battles of character, they are contests of ideas. The moment you make it personal, you shift the focus from the issue at hand to a fight over dignity, pride, and resentment, a fight no one truly wins. Instead, when provoked, practice redirection. Let personal attacks slide off you, like water off a stone. Refocus the conversation back to the idea, back to the facts, back to the point. Respond to "you don't understand anything about this," not with a retaliatory attack, but with a steady, "let's make sure we both understand it clearly." That's important. By refusing to be drawn into emotional mudslinging, you rise above the noise and maintain the moral high ground. You demonstrate maturity, poise, and leadership, qualities that silently win arguments without shouting. Knowledge is your next weapon. Not just knowing the strengths of your argument, but knowing its weaknesses too. A true master prepares not to dominate, but to understand. Before entering any significant discussion, immerse yourself in the facts. Arm yourself with data, examples, stories, and logical structures that support your view. Know your material so well that you can explain it to a child, not just an expert. But more than that, think like your own opponent. Where are the cracks in your reasoning? Where might a sharp mind attack? By exploring these vulnerabilities in advance, you discern them. You are no longer afraid of counterpoints. You are ready for them. When challenged, you can respond calmly. That's a fair point. Here's how I see it. Instead of freezing or lashing out, this preparation cultivates not only knowledge, but inner confidence, a confidence that speaks volumes without arrogance. The person who knows they're grown thoroughly does not need to yell or rush. Their authority radiates naturally. Yet, even with deep knowledge, many lose arguments simply by wandering off track. Staying on point is an art, and it demands discipline. Arguments, like rivers, can easily overflow their banks if not carefully guided. Irrelevant details, past grievances, emotional detours, all can pull a conversation far from its purpose. A skilled communicator notices when the current drifts and gently steers it back. That's an interesting topic, perhaps for another time. But let's focus on this issue first. Staying on point is not about ignoring complexity. It is about preserving clarity. A focused argument, simple, sharp, and relentless, is a far more powerful weapon than a sprawling, tangled one. Repetition of your key point, framed in different ways, reinforces your position while exhausting distractions. Discipline in staying focused protects you from being manipulated, overwhelmed, or trapped. In the long run, it is the person who drives the main point home, again and again, with calm persistence, who wins the war of ideas. Another secret weapon, often overlooked, is the ability to accept small losses in order to win the larger battle. Many view arguments as zero-sum games where conceding even the tiniest point feels like a defeat. But this is short-sighted. The wise arguer understands that by gracefully acknowledging minor errors or fair points, they actually strengthen their credibility. When you admit a mistake with a simple, "You're right about that detail," you strip your opponent of ammunition. You show you are committed to truth, not ego. This openness softens your opponent's resistance and opens the audience's heart. To your broader case, it is strategic humility. It signals strength, not weakness. In life, as on the battlefield, retreating a few steps at the right moment can set you up for a devastatingly effective advance later. Arguments are not won by those who insist on being right about everything. They are won by those who can be seen as honest, thoughtful, and trustworthy. Tone and body language, too, silently shape the outcome of every argument. Humans are emotional creatures first and rational creatures second. No matter how perfect your logic, if your tone sounds angry, contemptuous, or anxious, you lose ground. Conversely, a calm, respectful tone and relaxed, open body language invite engagement. These signal that you are secure, composed, and worthy of being heard. Breathing slowly, speaking deliberately, maintaining steady but non-threatening eye contact, using open gestures. These are all nonverbal cues that radiate power without aggression, even when challenged. A slight smile and a brief pause before responding can transform the emotional climate of a discussion. By mastering your emotional signals, you not only control your own state, but influence the emotional state of everyone else involved. Remember, people often forget exactly what you said, but they remember vividly how you made them feel. Perhaps the most subtle art of all is planting seeds rather than forcing a win. True persuasion rarely happens on the battlefield of immediate confrontation. In the moment, people defend their egos fiercely, even if they privately feel the strength of your argument. They may resist acknowledging it openly. Trying to hammer them into agreement usually deepens their resistance. Instead, wise communicators plant ideas gently, respectfully, and leave space for reflection. You suggest rather than dictate. You invite rather than demand. Something to think about. Another way of seeing it might be, these phrases create psychological space for the other person to ponder your perspective later, in the quiet of their own mind, without the pressure of defending themselves. Like seeds in fertile soil, good ideas often germinate unseen, blooming days, weeks, or even months later. By focusing not on immediate victory, but on long-term influence, you multiply your power exponentially. You are not just trying to win. Today, you are shaping the landscape of future thought. And finally, knowing when to exit gracefully is the hallmark of true mastery. Not every argument is meant to be fought to the bitter end. Sometimes, the wisest move is to recognize that the conversation has reached its productive limits and to bow out with dignity. Signs of this include emotional escalation, repetitive circles, or a hardening of positions. In these moments, forcing the issue only damages relationships and diminishes your own standing. A graceful exit might sound like, "I appreciate hearing your perspective. I think we've both shared our views clearly. Let's reflect on it." Calm, respectful, and confident. This kind of ending preserves your dignity, your relationships, and your energy. It leaves the door open for future influence, rather than slamming it shut in anger. True mastery is not about winning every small battle. It's about winning the long war of trust, respect, and connection. In the end, not losing an argument is less about crushing your opponent and more about mastering yourself. It is about rising above petty attacks, preparing deeply, staying focused, embracing humility, controlling your emotional signals, planting seeds of thought, and knowing when to step back. It is about playing the deeper, longer game where influence is earned not through domination, but through clarity, respect, and wisdom. Those who master this art move through the world with quiet power, winning not just arguments, but hearts, minds, and lasting influence wherever they go.